The camera pans over a dimly lit kitchen, where the intoxicating aroma of freshly baked cake mingles with the faint scent of wilting flowers. A table is set for one, adorned with a single candle flickering in the silence. Why did everything change? The whisper of the wind hides the truth as the clock ticks away the moments of solitude. A heart once filled with anticipation now aches with the weight of unfulfilled promises. Margaret Carter, dressed in her finest, stands by the window, gazing out at a world that seems to have forgotten her. Will this birthday be just another day, or will it spark a journey of rediscovery and connection? I spent my 75th birthday alone, my family off on vacation, using my money. This day was supposed to mean something, to bring a spark of joy I hadn't felt in years. I waited, dressed and ready, hoping they'd remember me. But deep down, a question whispered, had I been forgotten? Before diving into my story, I want to express my gratitude for you listening. Where are you tuning in from? I love hearing your stories too, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. It truly means a lot. I had been excited about the trip my child, Ethan Carter, promised me. Back in February, he excitedly talked about a vacation to celebrate my 75th. A real getaway, he said, somewhere warm, he insisted. Just pack your best dresses, Mama. I smiled so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. It had been ages since I'd seen a beach, not since my husband passed. When I inquired about the cost, Ethan just waved it away. You've worked your entire life. You deserve this, he assured me. A week later, he asked to borrow my credit card for the group tickets. Hesitant yet trusting, I handed it over, believing it would all come together. He promised we'd leave in late April, just in time for my birthday. But April slipped away, and as the days melted into one another, I found myself asking for the date again. We're sorting it out, Ethan said, confidence brimming in his voice. Just wait. I promise it'll be perfect. I believed him. I bought a new purple suitcase, proudly displaying it by the door, tag still hanging. Over 2 weeks, I packed my favorite sundress, the one with hibiscus prints, my church sandals, and a sun hat that hadn't seen the sun in 8 long years. That day was drawing closer, but inside me, another question brewed. What if this was a different kind of birthday? A lineup of faces blurred in the background, but I longed to feel the warmth of connection once more. And just like that, I felt the shadows creeping in. The aroma of fried chicken and sweet potatoes filled the small kitchen, blending with the soft notes of a gospel playlist. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow. Each sizzling sound pulled Margaret Carter deeper into her memories. Laughter shared, tears shed. But as she set the table, a shadow of doubt crept in. Would Ethan Carter, her child, truly arrive? The walls felt like they were closing in, amplifying her silent wish for connection on this special day. Just as she reached for the pie, the phone buzzed again, echoing through the silence like a heartbeat. Who could it be now? Margaret had spent her 75th birthday alone the previous year, her family off on vacation. This day was supposed to mean something, to bring a spark of joy she hadn't felt in years. She had been excited about the trip Ethan promised her, a getaway to celebrate her milestone. Somewhere warm, he insisted. Just pack your best dresses, Mama. She smiled, nearly spilling her coffee. It had been ages since she'd seen a beach, not since her husband passed. When she asked about the cost, Ethan waved it away. You've worked your entire life. You deserve this, he assured her. But as April slipped away, she found herself asking for the date again. We're sorting it out, he said, confidence brimming in his voice. Just wait. I promise it'll be perfect. She believed him. She bought a new purple suitcase, proudly displaying it by the door, tag still hanging. Over 2 weeks, she packed her favorite sundress, the one with hibiscus prints, her church sandals, and a sun hat that hadn't seen the sun in 8 long years. Yet, inside her, another question brewed. What if this birthday was different? The night before her birthday, Ethan called. He sounded rushed, like he was driving. "Mama, I hate to say it, but the trip's getting pushed back a little bit," he said. Her heart dropped. "Oh, for how long?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Not long. Maybe a few more weeks. Just some scheduling stuff on our end." "Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow at least for dinner?" There was a pause. "Of course," he said. "Wouldn't miss it." That was enough for her. She tried not to sound disappointed. After all, plans change. Life gets busy. On the morning of her 75th birthday, she woke up early, turned on her gospel playlist, and brewed a fresh pot of coffee. She started cooking: fried chicken, yams, macaroni, fresh string beans with smoked turkey. She baked a sweet potato pie from scratch using real vanilla this time. She even brought out the good china, the one with the gold trim she only used on holidays. She set the table for 5. Herself, Ethan, his wife Brianna, their daughter Imani, and maybe Tyrell from next door if they decided to bring him a plate. Dressed in the blue floral dress her husband used to say made her look 10 years younger, she curled her hair and put on a little lipstick. She lit the tall candle she usually saved for Easter dinner. The house smelled like love. By 5, she was ready. By 6, worry began to creep in. By 7, she had reheated everything twice. By 8, she stopped checking the window. By 9, she sat at the table alone. The candles had melted halfway down. The food was cold. Her lipstick smudged. She stared at the empty plates across from her, trying to convince herself that maybe something had come up. Maybe they just lost track of time. Maybe the baby had an emergency. Maybe the car broke down. Maybe the phone died. But deep down, she knew nobody was coming. Her hand trembled as she lifted the fork, the weight of her hopes hanging in the air. The aroma of freshly baked pie lingered in the air, mingling with the faint scent of lavender from the old quilt draped over the worn armchair. Margaret Carter's heart ached with memories. She recalled the laughter ringing through family gatherings, the warmth of hugs that felt like home, and the joyful sounds of her children's voices echoing in the hall. Each piece of pie felt heavy, bittersweet in her mouth, a reminder of joy now overshadowed by her solitude. As the flickering candlelight danced against the walls, shadows whispered of days long gone, igniting a longing for connection that slipped further away with each passing moment. "Why does it feel like no one remembers?" she thought, glancing at the clock. The evening promised celebration. Instead, it fulfilled only her silence. "I can't eat much," she confessed to the empty room, pushing her plate away. The food tasted different now. Each bite felt like a comparison to the vibrant meals of the past, a weight sharper with every melancholy remembrance. She stared at a birthday card she had picked up at the dollar store, one that said, "You're still glowing," in pink glitter. It had made her smile. Now, the words were a cruel joke. A quiet sob escaped her as she wiped her face against the tablecloth, allowing herself to feel the hurt. No calls came, no texts. Not a single happy birthday, Mama. At around 10:30, she wrapped the sweet potato pie in foil, storing it in the fridge. She blew out the candles, their flicker extinguishing her last glimmer of hope. Changing into her nightgown, she sat on the edge of the bed and eyed the purple suitcase in the corner, a promise yet to be realized. As the light dimmed, she lay down, the ache in her knees sharper than usual. The hum of the ceiling fan was the only sound company kept her. Maybe they forgot, she whispered, clinging to that hope. But deep down, she felt the truth like a stone in her chest. They didn't forget. They simply didn't come. Waking up the morning after her birthday, Margaret felt the stillness of the house wrap around her. Not the gentle kind of silence, but the hollow sort that echoed with absence. She sat at the edge of her bed for what felt like an eternity, staring at that little purple suitcase packed and waiting by the door, the tag still untouched. The day before, Ethan, her trusted child, had promised that things would work out, yet here she was, waiting. Going through her morning rituals felt like moving through molasses. She brushed her teeth, tied her scarf tight, and shuffled into the kitchen in her slippers. But everything felt heavy, as if the world had slowed down. She prepared a cup of tea and set it aside. The fridge opened and shut, revealing the pie, still untouched. With a sigh, she leaned against the counter, the energy to warm leftovers slipping away. Was it too much to ask for connection and joy, especially now? As she sank deeper into her thoughts, she thought of Ethan, the ambitious child struggling to meet family expectations while chasing his own dreams. Would he ever understand the ache behind her smiles? The dishes from last night were still stacked in the sink. I didn't touch them either. I sat on the couch wrapped in my old knit shawl, the one Harold gave me before he passed. It smelled faintly like cedar and lavender. I stared at the floor for a long time, listening to the ticking clock on the wall. It was almost noon, and still no calls, no texts, not even a sorry we missed you, Mama. I held on to that sliver of hope that maybe today they'd reach out. Maybe they got the day wrong. Then I heard a knock. 3 soft taps at the door. I got up slowly and peeked through the curtain. It was Terrell, sweet boy. He lived 2 doors down, always polite, always checking in on me. His grandmother raised him right. I opened the door. "Hey, Miss D," he said, holding a plastic grocery bag and smiling. "Got you that lemon dish soap you mentioned." "Oh, bless your heart," I said, stepping aside. "Come on in, baby." He walked in and set the bag on the counter. I was about to offer him some tea, but he noticed my phone sitting on the table. "You still having trouble with your apps?" he asked, picking it up. "Em?" I nodded. "It's been freezing up again. You know how I am with that thing. I press the wrong button and everything disappears." Terrell chuckled. "Let me take a look." He sat down at the table, swiping through the settings. I went back to wiping the counter just to give my hand something to do. Then I heard him pause. "Miss D," he said gently, "did you say your child was planning to take you on a trip for your birthday?" I turned toward him slowly. "Yes." He said it was going to be a family vacation, but the night before my birthday, he called and said it was postponed. "Why?" He hesitated, then glanced down at his phone. "I didn't mean to snoop," he said, "but I follow your granddaughter on Instagram, Imani." I frowned. "Okay." He flipped the phone around to show me. There was clear as day, a beach, white sand, blue water, and in the middle of it, my family. The scent of sizzling ribs danced through the warm summer air, while laughter bounced off the backyard walls. Ethan Carter, his voice full of lightheartedness, spun tales of childhood mischief, each word weaving a tighter bond between us. The sun's golden rays wrapped us in a sense of belonging, filling the space with joy. That was how it felt then, surrounded by warmth, loved and needed. Now, the photos of those moments seem like distant echoes, memories fading away with time. The joy, once so tangible, is nothing more than a ghost that drifts further out of reach, leaving behind a longing that's hard to shake. What happened to the closeness we once shared? I sat there in my quiet home, the clock ticking louder than usual, my hands trembling as I glanced over the untouched dishes from the night before. It was almost noon, and still, no calls, no texts, not a single "Happy Birthday" or "I miss you, Mom." The emptiness wrapped around me, heavier than I could ignore. Maybe today, maybe they just got the day wrong? I clung to that fragile hope until there was a knock at the door. Soft taps, 3 of them. I opened it to see Terrell, the sweet boy who lived down the street, holding a bag of groceries. "Hey, Miss D," he said with that smile that always made me feel seen. He had no idea what was about to unfold. "Got you that lemon dish soap you mentioned," he added, setting the bag on the counter. As he turned to notice my phone, he asked, "Still having trouble with your apps?" I nodded, a weak smile forcing itself. He took the phone from the table, tapping through the settings. Then he paused. "Did you say your child was taking you on a trip for your birthday?" I turned slowly to face him. "Yes," I said. "He said it was going to be a family vacation." But something in Tyrell's eyes told me he knew more. He hesitated before flipping the phone toward me. There it was, on Instagram. A post from the night before. My child, Ethan Carter, his wife Brianna, and Amani all smiling, matching shirts that said, "Win Family Vacation." It wasn't a day trip. It was a full-blown getaway. Resorts, fancy dinners, and spa days. Everything except me. I zoomed in on the pictures. Brianna twirling in a sundress with a champagne glass, Ethan Carter laughing with a cigar, Imani showing off a gold bracelet. Not one picture of me. I swallowed hard, my chest tight. "They said it was postponed," I whispered. "Said we'd reschedule, said they'd come by for dinner." But the sting in my throat was growing, as was the tear that slipped down my cheek. Tyrell didn't know what to say, but he didn't need to. He simply stayed beside me, his presence a quiet comfort. It wasn't his fault, it was mine, for believing in them. The truth settled in slowly. I wasn't part of their lives anymore. I was left behind, an afterthought, while they went on without me. I sat with that feeling more alone than ever. And yet, deep inside, a quiet voice stirred. I had to know the full truth. I powered up my old computer, the familiar hum of its startup sound cutting through the silence. It was time to confront the reality I'd been avoiding. Time to face whatever truth lay in those unread emails. The rain taps gently on the window as Margaret Carter stares at the glow of her laptop. Her fingers hover above the keys, trembling. It's all becoming too clear now. What her family never said, what they tried to hide, was right in front of her. The Cancun trip. Her child, Ethan Carter, his wife Brianna, and Amani. The bright smiles, the lavish resort, the toasts, all of it. Except there's one glaring omission. Her. Her heart sinks, a lump in her throat. They said they'd reschedule, they'd make up for it. But the truth was different. They had taken her money, her card, paid in full for the trip, without her. The weight of betrayal presses down, sharper than anything she's felt before. She closes the laptop, but the damage is done. She walks to the mirror, staring at her reflection. Something inside her clicks. She's no longer a forgotten woman, not an afterthought. Her eyes are clear now. It's not bitterness, it's not anger, it's clarity. Margaret has had enough. The next day, Brianna calls. Her voice is sweet, dripping with fake apologies. "We missed your big day, Miss D," she says, as if the past week never happened. "Ethan Carter's going to drop by. He's bringing something nice." Margaret listens, and then hangs up. A few hours later, Ethan Carter shows up, unannounced like nothing's wrong. No knock, just him at the door. But Margaret is no longer the woman who waits in silence, the woman who was taken for granted. No, now she stands in her truth, ready to face the reality her family never wanted her to see. The twist, she's not waiting anymore. She's walking away from their expectations and taking back her life. Ethan Carter stepped into the kitchen like he owned the place, just like he did as a teenager. I was folding dish towels, my back turned. "Hey, Mama," he said, as if he just returned from a quick trip to the store. He placed a white paper bag on the table, and my heart sank. Inside was a slice of red velvet cake, wrapped like it was meant for a wedding, not a birthday. I glanced at the cake, then back at him. "Is this what you brought back from Mexico?" His smile faltered just for a moment. "Oh, so you saw the photos," he chuckled, but I wasn't laughing. "I saw everything," I replied, my voice steady but my heart racing. The drinks, the hotel, the fancy shirts, the bracelet on Imani's wrist, the steak dinner, all of it on my birthday. Ethan scratched his neck, shrugging it off. "Mama, we didn't think you'd want to travel all that way. You get tired easy." "That's not what you told me," I shot back. "You said it was postponed." He waved it away. "We changed the plans last minute. It wasn't that deep." I stepped around the counter, my voice calm but the heat rising in my chest. "You used my credit card, Ethan. You paid for the whole thing in my name." His head jerked back, eyes wide. "What? It wasn't like that. You gave me the card for emergencies." "Emergencies?" I echoed, disbelief washing over me. "You thought your mama, who cooked a full meal and dressed up for her 75th birthday, would be fine being lied to and left out, paying for her own exclusion?" Ethan's annoyance flared. "Mama, it was just one birthday. You've had 74 of them." My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the table. "One birthday," I said, my voice breaking. "It was the first without your father. I thought maybe, just maybe, you wanted to spend it with me, not run from me." He groaned, collapsing into a chair like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "You're being dramatic." "Dramatic?" I blinked, stunned. "Yes, you're being dramatic," he snapped. "It's not like we left you with nothing. You had food. You always say you don't need much." The tension thickened in the air. The kitchen felt smaller, the walls closing in. The vibrant red velvet cake sat like a beacon of unspoken words between us. Ethan's eyes darted away, avoiding the weight of my gaze. "You didn't think I'd want to be there?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, yet it echoed with hurt. The silence that followed was deafening, filled with the unsaid. What was he hiding? The question hung in the air, begging for resolution. The scent of freshly baked cookies filled the air, mingling with the soft laughter echoing from the living room. Ethan Carter paused, lost in a memory. He could almost feel the warmth of his mother's embrace, her hands brushing through his hair as she sang lullabies during stormy nights. The kitchen light cast a gentle glow on Margaret Carter's face, a portrait of love and sacrifice. But now, a chasm of unspoken words loomed between them, heavy with the weight of their strained relationship. Why is this suddenly some big crisis? Ethan's voice cut through the silence, but it only deepened the ache in Margaret's heart. She stepped back, her pulse racing. Memories flooded her mind, holding him close during fevers, skipping meals so he could eat, even pawning her wedding ring for his braces. She had prayed every night for his safety, and now he was telling her she had enough, that her pain was too much trouble. "I'm your mother, Ethan, not your wallet." Her voice was steady, but the hurt lingered in the air. He fell silent, avoiding her gaze. She stood up, walking to the pantry to grab the broom. "You can go," she said softly, her heart breaking. "Mama, I need to sweep," he replied, confusion flickering in his eyes. "I don't like sweeping around things that don't belong in my house." He hesitated, as if wanting to say something, but the words never came. He left without another word, and the door clicked shut behind him, leaving Margaret alone with her thoughts. That night, she sat on the porch under the string lights Harold had hung years ago. Wrapped in a blanket, she rocked back and forth, the cool air brushing against her face. The crickets sang their nightly lullaby, but there was no comfort in it. She still loved her child, but the truth was now impossible to ignore. "I thought that was the end of it," she whispered to the night, "that we'd talk again and smooth it out like mothers always do." But deep down, she sensed something was coming that would force her to confront the truth. Weeks passed after the argument and life grew tighter. The grocery shelves were nearly bare, and the power bill was higher than expected. But panic didn't grip her. She had weathered storms before. "I'll just borrow a little until my check comes in," she thought, determined to find a way through. Little did she know, this moment of vulnerability would lead her to a revelation that would change everything. Tyrell, bless his heart, had told me about a retired judge who volunteered at the community center. Nora Blake said she helped older women get access to legal advice and support. "She's sharp, Misty," he said. "Doesn't play games. You'll like her." I didn't want to bother nobody, but I called. She came over the next afternoon, tall woman's silver-gray twist-out sharp eyes and a no-nonsense voice that still had kindness in it. She walked in wearing slacks and flat shoes, carrying a canvas tote filled with folders. "Miss Wynne," she said, shaking my hand firmly, "you needed some assistance." "Just a little guidance," I replied, motioning for her to sit. "I may need to borrow a few dollars just to tide me over. I'm not behind or anything, just a bad month." She gave me a careful look. "Do you mind if I ask, don't you have a retirement account? Any savings?" I nodded. I do, but my child's been helping me manage it." She set her tote down. "And how involved are you with that management?" I hesitated. "He's got the login. He pays the bills. Said he'd handle all the boring stuff so I didn't have to worry." Nora leaned forward. "Would you mind pulling up your online banking just so we can take a quick look? Make sure everything's where it should be." I didn't want to embarrass myself, but something in her tone told me I should listen. So I opened my old laptop and let her sit beside me. Took a few tries, but I got into the account. I noticed it before she even said a word. The balance didn't look right. She scrolled through quietly, not speaking yet. I sat beside her, heart pounding, watching her face. When she finally turned to me, she didn't speak like a judge. She spoke like a woman who'd seen too many stories just like mine. "Miss Wynne," she said gently, "your account's been drained over the past year. We're talking multiple withdrawals, thousands of dollars, mostly transferred to a secondary account." I felt cold all over. That must be Ethan Carter's. The room felt heavy with unspoken words. Dolores stared at the closed laptop, its gentle hum contrasting sharply with the storm brewing inside her. Memories flooded back, each one laced with regret. A fear she thought buried clawed its way back, mixing with the bitterness of betrayal. Ethan Carter's intentions seemed clear, yet the path he walked had grown murky. Love battled with the instinct of self-preservation. Heart racing, she finally whispered, "What if this is the turning point I've been waiting for?" Just then, the door creaked open behind her, pulling her attention with a hesitant groan. Ethan stepped inside, bright-eyed and brimming with optimism. "Mama, you won't believe it." His excitement filled the air, yet all Dolores could think was what lay hidden below the surface. The smell of rain lingered, a stark reminder of the storm that lay ahead. "You've been feeding me so many dreams, Ethan," she said, her voice steady yet fragile. "What if they come at a price?" "What do you mean?" he asked, his smile faltering. "This house, it's our fresh start." "Fresh start?" The words echoed in her mind. But at what cost? As he painted his vision of a new life, Dolores felt the weight of her own truth. She wanted joy, connection, something more. No longer could she ignore the empty promises, the moments overlooked. Each time she'd put her child's needs above her own. Was he really the one making sacrifices? "Ethan," she paused, her heart beating in the silence that stretched between them like a chasm. "Let's take a step back." "But," he started. "Let me finish," she interrupted. "There's more at stake here than just a house. It's about us, about trust." Ethan's face dropped. The rush of emotions turned palpable, the air tinged with the scent of impending rain. "Do you really think I'd hurt you?" The truth hung heavy. "You've already hurt me. It's hard for me to believe you care about me when all I see is what you want." Each word felt like a dagger, a bittersweet sting that left her breathless. Ethan took a step back, the joy draining from his face. This isn't just about you, Mama. I'm trying to build a future here. That future can't come at the expense of my peace, Dolores shot back. As the realization settled in, a bittersweet hope blossomed. What if this is more than just a turning point for you? She whispered softly. Caught in a duel of emotions, they both stood on the edge, teetering between love and a desperate need for change. Silence encased them. What lay ahead? Only time would reveal whether they'd build anew together, or if the past would shatter their fragile connection. I raised my eyebrows. Oh. He sat at the table like it was his own. I need 40 grand to secure the down payment. I figured maybe you could front-run me part of the inheritance now. You know, before it's too late. That was it. That was the moment. The air left my lungs like a punch. I looked him in the face. He didn't even flinch. He truly believed he was entitled to the life I'd built. I don't have that kind of money, I said. He leaned back. Sure you do. You just don't want to help. My voice was flat. You've been helping yourself, Ethan Carter. I've seen the charges. His expression changed. Excuse me, I saw the resort charges, the jewelry, the electronics. You've been draining my account. He stood up. You went through my stuff? No, I said calmly. I went through mine. He scoffed. So what, you're cutting me off now after everything I've done for you? You mean using me? I said, standing too. Lying to me, leaving me home on my birthday while you drank and danced on my dime. You do this, he snapped. You're going to be all alone. Don't call me when you need something. I walked over to the counter, picked up Nora's card, and looked him dead in the eye. I won't, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I stood there for a moment, feeling the silence settle back in. Then I picked up the phone and I called the woman who helped me see the truth. Nora, I said, let's get started. It didn't take long for the ripple to reach him. The very same week, Nora helped me transfer my accounts, lock my credit, and revoke Ethan Carter's access. The call started. First, it was a string of missed call, Ethan Carter win notifications. Then came the text. Short tense. Mama, we need to talk. Why is my card getting declined? Call me now. This is serious. I didn't answer. I didn't need to anymore. Nora said it would take a few days for all the legal paperwork to finalize. But the minute the accounts were frozen, Ethan Carter would feel it. And he did. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Ethan Carter stood there, his frustration boiling over. But then something shifted. He froze mid-sentence, disbelief washing over his face. Margaret, the elderly woman at the center of this storm, met his gaze. Her eyes, usually filled with warmth, now held a glimmer of sorrow, a hidden truth waiting to be unveiled. The scent of freshly laundered clothes wafted through the room, a stark reminder of the comfort she longed for amidst the chaos. With her heart racing, Margaret felt the weight of years spent in silence. How many moments had she chosen to hold back, to avoid confrontation? The emotional chasm between them had grown too wide, and now it was time to bridge that gap. You think I don't see you? She finally said, her voice steady yet soft. I've been overlooked for too long. Ethan Carter's expression shifted, confusion mingling with anger. What are you talking about? He shot back, but Margaret could sense the cracks forming in his bravado. She took a deep breath, the air heavy with unspoken words. I've spent my life trying to connect, but you've always been too busy chasing your own dreams to notice. The rain began to patter softly against the window, each drop echoing the rhythm of her heart. Do you even know what it feels like to be alone in a crowded room? She asked, her voice trembling. To feel invisible to the people you love? As the silence stretched between them, Margaret felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this confrontation could lead to something more, a chance to finally share her story, to reveal the depths of her resilience. I want joy, Ethan Carter, I want connection. But I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. The room felt charged, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Ethan Carter's defenses began to crumble, and for the first time, he truly listened. "I didn't know," he whispered, the weight of realization settling in. Margaret smiled gently, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. "It's never too late to start anew. Let's find our way back to each other." In that moment, amidst the chaos, they both understood that healing could begin, one honest conversation at a time. When I'm gone, after the funeral, when the house is sold, Ethan Carter's face flushed. "Don't say that." "Why not?" I snapped, the heat rising in my chest. "You've already spent like I was dead." The silence that followed was thick. He finally spoke again, his voice low and bitter. "You've always made things harder than they need to be. And you've always made promises you never kept," I said. "You promised to come on my birthday. You promised we'd travel together. You promised I'd never have to feel forgotten." I could see something shift in his eyes then. Not guilt, not sorrow, just the realization that I wasn't bending this time. "So, what now?" he asked. "You going to cut us off?" "For good." I didn't answer him. I just walked to the drawer near the dining room, pulled out a letter, and laid it on the table. "What's that?" he asked. "I knew Will," I said, "drawn up last week. Every penny of mine is going to a women's shelter downtown, the one that helps older women get back on their feet after being used by the people they loved most." He blinked, stunned. "You're cutting me out of your will. You cut yourself out the day you looked me in the eye and saw a resource instead of a mother." Brianna was crying now. Quietly, she grabbed her purse and backed toward the door. "I didn't know it went that deep," she whispered. "I thought you were okay with it." Ethan Carter said, "You knew." I didn't say anything. Sometimes silence tells the truth better than words ever could. She left without another word. Ethan Carter stood there a moment longer, jaw clenched, trying to think of something that might wing me back. But there was nothing left to say. He finally turned and walked out, slamming the door so hard the picture of Harold on the shelf rattled. I went over and straightened it. Then I sat down at the table, looked at the half-folded laundry, and laughed softly to myself. Not because any of it was funny, but because the sound of strength returning to your own bones can feel like joy after long silence. For years, I believed my love had to look like sacrifice. That being a good mother meant giving until I had nothing left. But now, I knew better. I wasn't empty. I wasn't confused. I was just done being their foundation while they climbed over me to build castles I was never invited into. And for the first time in decades, I looked around my house and felt something strange belonged to me again. A year passed, quietly Foley, like spring blooming through cold soil. I won't lie, some days were hard, the kind of hard where you sit by the window and wonder if maybe you were too harsh, for maybe you should have picked up when they called again. But then I'd remember the ache in my chest when I saw that Cancun photo, the way Ethan Carter looked me in the face and asked for an advance on my own death, the sting of sitting alone at my birthday table with a dress I ironed just for them. So, no, I didn't pick up. Not when Ethan Carter called 4 weeks after the accounts were locked. Not when he sent a single text with no punctuation that read, "So, it's like that." Yes, who's like that? Because when I finally took control of my money, my name, my future, it felt like pulling myself out of a well I didn't know I was drowning in. Nora helped me get everything in place. We filed the paperwork to transfer all my assets out of Ethan Carter's reach. We revoked every authorization he'd ever claimed. We reported suspicious charges. Some even refunded. She even connected me with a financial advisor who didn't talk to me like I was slow or simple, but like a woman who knew the value of every dime she ever touched. Then we rewrote my will. Every dollar, every bond, every piece of land I still had. assigned to a foundation that builds housing and offers legal help for older women who've been manipulated or silenced by their families. I didn't tell anyone but Nora and Tyrell. Yes, Tyrell. That boy checked on me every week after everything fell apart. Sometimes life's biggest surprises come when you least expect them. Picture this. The warm, inviting scent of fried chicken fills a small community center, mixing with laughter and the sweet aroma of pound cake. It's my 76th birthday, and I've decided this year would be different. Instead of setting a table for ghosts, I gathered the people who've actually shown up for me, all the ones who saw me through my darkest times. Tyrell walks in first, his arms full of vibrant roses, Mahalia Jackson pouring from his Bluetooth speaker, uplifting the room. Nora, with her sharp suit and that knowing smile, follows closely. The ladies from the foundation shuffle in, some with canes, others with adorable grandkids in tow, all dressed like royalty. We laugh, we dance, each piece of pound cake carrying its own story. Just when I thought the party couldn't get any better, a soft knock on the door steals the spotlight. In steps Imani, my granddaughter, holding a birthday card in trembling hands. She's wearing nothing flashy, no designer outfits or perfect hairstyles, just sheer vulnerability. "Grandma," she says, her voice trembling, "I heard some things. I thought you didn't want to travel." When her father filled her head with excuses, Imani believed him. But the truth has a way of shining through. It hurt. It really did. As she stands there, the little girl who once scrambled through my kitchen, I see both my past and my hopeful future intertwined. "Can I stay?" she asks, clutching her card tighter. I pause, the air heavy with memories. "Sure," I finally say, pulling out a plate. "Get you some of that pound cake before Nora finishes it." A flicker of hope lights her face, shaky but genuine, as she joins the circle of love and acceptance. But I hold back a hug. Some things take time to mend. As the evening draws to a close, I find myself reflecting on the true value of connection. Could a simple slice of cake really heal old wounds? Just then, the door creaks open again, and up steps Ethan Carter, a figure from another part of my life, ready to change the atmosphere once more. In that moment, I feel the weight of being overlooked lift. Maybe this birthday wasn't just a celebration of age, but a chance for rebirth, for reconnection. As Tyrell offers to drive me home, I can't shake the feeling that tonight was only the beginning. After years of feeling unseen, perhaps I'd started to reclaim my rightful place at the table, surrounded by the love I deserved. Who would have thought that the scent of fried chicken would lead to such a feast of renewed hope? I sat in the front seat, roses cradled in my lap, watching the sun sink low over the rooftops. Ethan glanced at me, curiosity in his eyes. "Was today better than last year?" he asked. I turned my gaze to the window, feeling the weight of my journey. It wasn't better. It was mine. When we finally arrived home, I lingered on the porch, soaking in the cool, gentle breeze that brushed against my skin like a soft blessing. I gazed down the street, reflecting on how far I'd come. Inside, I changed into my robe and brewed a cup of tea. I didn't check my phone. I didn't look for a message from Ethan. Instead, I sat alone at my kitchen table, a smile creeping across my face. Not because I was happy, but because I felt whole. I had given them love, and now I was giving myself peace. And that was the best birthday gift I'd ever received.